everyone! Welcome back. This is the fourth video of my Gold Award series. Today we're going to be talking about multiplication because M is for multiplying. So imagine for math homework you've got to multiply 12 times 23. And you may think that 12 times 23 is pretty easy because you can do it in your head practically, and I guess it is true because you do find it fairly quickly. But there is an easier way to figure it out. When you decompose 12 and 23, when you really look at them as numbers, you see that 12 is 1 times 10 and 2 times 1, and 23 is 2 times 10 and 3 times 1. And now with these new numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to draw lines that correspond to the numbers we found. So 12 being 1 and 2, we're going to draw 1 line and then 2 lines. 23 being 2 and 3, we're going to draw 2 lines and then 3 lines. And now with a different color pen, I'm going to count the number of intersections between these lines and just put a little number next to it so I remember what it is. And with other color pen, I'm going to delimit these lines into 3 zones and just count the numbers that are inside. And so for the first zone, I have 2 because there's only one number, and the second one is 7 because 4 plus 3 is 7, and then the third one is 6. And believe it or not, but that is what we originally found. 12 times 23 is 276. So now you might be thinking, what is this? Is it Asian science or a Japanese trick? Because that is usually what people call it. But it's actually just simple math. You just draw lines and count the little dots. Just to recap quickly what we did, first of all we have to decompose the numbers, and then after you draw the lines corresponding to those numbers, and you count the little intersections, count the dots, and then you make the different zones. Usually there are 3, maybe 4, depending on how big your numbers are, but it's fairly easy to spot. And then it's just a matter of simple addition, and then you just calculate and celebrate. And on to the second part of my video, which is squaring 2 or 3 digit numbers. If you thought the earlier example was too easy, 41 times 67, and you're maybe in middle school or high school, I don't know, and you want to know how to square numbers, well then this is more of a level 2, a harder part of the video. So just to start it off, we're going to write 67, just to make things easier to know what digits I'm talking about, and say that the 7 is the first digit and the 6 is the second digit, just to make it easier so you know what I'm talking about. And first of all, you're going to square the first digit. So 7 times 7 is 49. You're going to write the 9 and then keep the 4 as a remainder. And then multiply the second and the first digit together, 6 times 7, which is 42. And then you're going to multiply that by 2. Which is 84, and you're going to add the remainder from the earlier calculation, which is 4, which makes 88. So you're going to write that down and then square the 6. So 6 times 6 is 36. You're going to add the 8, which is 44, and you're going to write that down. And just to verify we got the right result, we're going to take out my calculator. 67 times 67 is indeed 4,489. There we go. So if you thought 67 squared was easy, here's a harder one for you, 143 squared. Ignore the little numbers because I messed up on that, but the first step is going to be squaring the 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, we're going to write that down. Second step, 4 times 3 is 12, we're going to multiply that by 2, which is 24, and then you're going to add the remainder from the previous calculation, which is 0 because, well, it's just 0, so you're going to write the 4 and keep the 2. And then you're going to square the 4, so 4 times 4 is 16, plus the previous remainder, which is 2, so 16 plus 2 is 18, and you're just going to write that there. And now it's going to be a little different, so what you're going to do is just multiply 1 times 3 and multiply that by 2, which is 6, and then you're going to write it under the 18, like just straight up under the 18. Next step is multiply 1 times 4 and multiply that by 2 again, so that's 0, 8. And remember the 0 is important because you're going to be adding these numbers up later. And write that under the 0, 6, but just slightly to the left. And then the final step, I wrote it a bit to the side because I didn't have any more room. 1 times 1 is 1, which is again 0, 1, because you're going to have to keep the 0. It's not really important here, but it's for other calculations it should be important. And you're going to write 0, 1 just under the 0, 8s, but slightly shifted to the left. And now we're just going to add these numbers up. So 9 plus 0 is 9, 4 plus 0 is 4, 8 plus 6 is 14, keep the 1, 1 plus 1 plus 8 is 10, so 0 and keep the 1, and then 2. And we're just going to verify this result with my calculator. 143 times 143 is 20,449, which is what we were expecting, so this method works. If you want to learn more about this method, it's called the Trachtenberg speed method, and I'll put a link in the description down below. Other than that, this is the end of this video, so if you liked it, click the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye!